Just playing a little music from the song, the movie, of course. But anyway, continuing with Chapter 8, you guys. This is E-Love in Vain. Continue. That was exactly Tad's state of mind 3 years ago, when he experienced the most basic level of choilism, what he called an E-Love grope fest. He had recently broke up with his girlfriend of 5 years. He found himself at a party and saw an attractive 20-year-old. He followed her and watched her get into a cab. He got into his Mercedes. When the cab stopped at a light, he pulled up. They made a date to meet the following night at a club. She showed up with a girlfriend named Andy. Fortunately, said Tad, Andy turned out to be out of her mind. She had just gotten off a plane from Italy and was swarming around in a fox fur coat. After consuming E-tabs, the three went back to Tad's loft, drank champagne, smashed the glasses on the floor, groped. The 20-year-old fell asleep, and Tad and Andy went at it, with the 20-year-old next to them on the bed. Peter jumps back in. It's more experiences every day. Therefore, you have to do more and constantly faster. And more, he said. It's going beyond carrying capacity, pushing our luck, inventing new niches, expanding. It's like someone walking by with a tray of cookies and you take a cup off the tray, said Garrick, 30, a guitarist with a downtown band. Tad started to agree with Peter. It's the whole idea of more, said Tad. It's 4 breaths, not 2. Thankfully, Sam, an investment banker, arrived. Sam, 41, was the type of guy who was always saying he wanted to get married, but often forgot to call back the women he was dating. So he was still single. Sam said he had 3 threesomes. Why did you do it, we asked. Sam shrugged. It's variety. You get tired of being around anyone after a while. Sam said there are 3 basic situations that lead to threesomes. 1. The guy has been secretly lobbying for a long time to get his girlfriend into bed with another woman. The reason could be that he's bored, or he secretly wants to sleep with her friend. 2. The girlfriend secretly wants to sleep with another woman and gets her boyfriend to go along to make it easier for her to deal with it. 3. 2 women are into each other and plot to get the guy into bed. Sam said he'd had a girlfriend, Libby, for about 6 months, and he talked himself into believing that she really wanted to have sex with her best friend, Amanda. Of course, the truth, which he now admits, is that he wanted to have sex with Amanda. Under pressure, Libby finally agreed to engineer the evening. Amanda came over. They had wine. They sat on the couch. Sam told the 2 women to take their clothes off. And then, I was a complete failure, said Sam. While Libby remained on the couch drinking wine, Sam took Amanda to bed. I was totally into her. The problem is, you usually end up preferring one woman over the other, and then the other one gets left out, he said. Finally, Libby came over to the bed. I guess they wanted me to tell them what to do, to take control of the situation. But I was so into Amanda I couldn't do it, Sam said. Libby never got over it. 2 months later, Sam and Libby broke up. Libby and Amanda didn't talk for a while. Sam admitted that he knew there could be consequences from the threesome, but you go ahead anyway because you're a guy. Rule number 1 of threesomes. Never, ever do it with your girlfriend, said Garrick. It's always a disaster. Rule number 2, you can't plan it. Something always goes wrong, said Simon, who said he had been involved in 6 or 7 threesomes. It has to be spontaneous. Before we got to rule number 3, the buzzer rang. Jim, a 21-year-old musician, and Ian, a 25-year-old television producer, arrived. Jim announced that he had been involved in a threesome the week before. You get to tell your friends afterwards, he said. It was kind of cheesy, he said, because the 3 of us had just seen the movie Threesome. But before he could continue, the buzzer rang again. We all looked at each other. Who's that? All the men who were supposed to be there had already arrived. Peter looked up from his painting. It's another woman, he said calmly. I went upstairs to open the door. It was another old woman, all right. We stared at each other in mutual surprise. What are you doing here? She asked. I was about to ask you the same question, I said. Then we did what women in New York always do. No matter how they really feel, we kissed each other on the cheek. Hello, Choi, I said. Or Chol, I think that's how you say it. It's like Chloe. She was wearing a leopard print jacket and a pink scarf. She is a sort of well-known girl around town. One of those women who are gorgeous, but you never know how she'd end up. The men watched us walk down the stairs. Jim leaned back in his chair. Now we get to see some action, he said. Chol and I looked at each other. I don't think so, we said. Chol surveyed the room. This looks like an intervention, she said. Someone fixed her vodka. I told her what we were talking about. I think every girl's least favorite thing is a threesome, Chol said. She said it's like she was talking about her accessories. Girls like one-on-one, she said. They like the attention. She took a sip of vodka. I've been put in that position so many fucking times where a man wants a threesome. I was just with his boyfriend. We were with this other couple. They all wanted to play some kind of S&M game. I was put in the bedroom with the other woman's husband, whom I'd known for years. We looked at each other and I said, this is never going to work because we're both submissive. It's a joke. We cancel each other out. I wanted to know what happened if the two women in a threesome ignored the man. I pray for it, said Simon. I'm going to stop right there real quick. This is kind of off subject, but the term S&M, the term threesomes, all these sexual phrases we are hearing, if you don't know what they are, which I'm sure you guys all do, but if you don't know what they are, I have talked about this over on my other channel under Charlie's Unique on the Joy of Gay Sex series. You can find out exactly what threesomes, S&M, submissive, all that stuff is. So if you have not checked that out, go over on my other channel, Charlie's Unique, under search on YouTube. Take a look at those topics, y'all. Alright, back to reading. I just had to advertise that real quick. That's what we all want, said Tad. It's the real thing. It's like having a live movie in your bed. You do the work to get the two women together. Jonesy seemed to be convinced that it worked a little differently. He kept using the word pro. We weren't sure if he meant an actual prostitute who specialized in threesomes or something else. Usually these things happen because the pro really wants to sleep with the women, Jonesy said. She's actually a lesbian, but she'll sleep with the man to get the woman. The pro is going to deal with you as best she can and keep you going for as long as she can. So the other woman, whom she really wants, doesn't get nervous that she's being aggressively sold out by the guy. The pro will keep you going as long as she can until she finishes you off. Then she devours the other woman. I reject that, Simon said. Jonathan's had a narrow range of experience. Imagine saying no. One of the girls in my threesome, she loved to have sex, Jim said. She'd have sex with all the guys we know. Wait a minute, Joel interrupted. How do you know she actually had sex with them? Because Ian had sex with her, Jim said. Ian had sex with her, and he said he loved, or she loved to have sex with every guy. But how does he know, Joel said, indignant. Maybe she only liked having sex with him. That's what's wrong with you guys. Her idea is that she can be like a guy, explained Ian. Her idea is, why do women have to be different from men? If a man can have sex with every girl he wants, why can't she have sex with every guy she wants? Look at Simon, Jonesy said. He wants her name and phone number right now. Jim continued. The other girl was the opposite of the first girl. She was kind of virginal. She had 2 boyfriends in her whole life. Anyway, these 2 girls had moved in together, and the crazy girl changed the life of the Virginia girl, because a week later the Virginia girl was ready to sleep with everyone. We're all good friends, Jim said. I had slept with the crazy girl, and the Virginia girl was the girl I had pursuing for a year. We went to see a movie, and afterwards we got a bottle of wine and went to their apartment. We drank the whole bottle of wine. But that's only 3.5 glasses, Joel objected. There was a time when you two, Joel, could get drunk off of 3.5 glasses of wine, Tad said. Okay, Jim said. So we went back to their apartment and drank the teeny tiny little bit of wine that we had, and afterward me and the crazy girl went into the bedroom. It was one of those bedrooms where the bed takes up the whole space, so the only place to hang out is on the bed. So me and the crazy girl started fooling around. She wanted the other girl, and I wanted the other girl. We were both looking at her. She was walking around the apartment trying to do her own thing, walking into the bathroom and in the kitchen, back and forth. What did she have on? Simon asked. I don't remember, Jim said, but we finally grabbed her hand and pulled her into the bedroom. And then, you raped her? Simon said. Jim shook her head. No. We sat her down on the bed and just started touching her, rubbing her back. Then we pulled her down onto the bed. The two girls were apart, so I just started pulling one girl's hand on the other one's chest. And then the girls got into it. I was still involved, but I was trying to creep away, just to watch. After that, they went around and did it with everyone in New York. They probably did it with 20 guys from Buddha Bar. Ian also had a story. One time, I was having sex with a girl, and there was another girl in the bed, he said. At one point, I looked at this other girl, and our eyes locked. And for the next 5 minutes, we were just staring at each other. That was the kicker. That's when it was great. That was intimate. Peter Beard, who had uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly spoke up. Imagine saying no to a threesome, he said. What an asshole you'd have to be. It's sport. But you don't really want to do it with a girl you care about, said Tad. The best is when you do it with a girl who's a great friend and a player, said Ian. And that's the reason why men want to have threesomes with you. Tad said to Chloe. You're a great friend. Chloe glared. And then, pretty much out of the blue, Ian made an announcement. I've been in more situations when it's 2 guys and 1 girl, he quickly added, and I haven't participated in having sex with the other guy. There was a moment of stunned silence. I wasn't quite sure that I had heard correctly. It's the easiest way to do it, Ian shrugged. It's sport. You don't care for that girl. Otherwise, you wouldn't let your buddy have sex with her. It's not like she means anything to you. And it's a lot cheaper, Sam, the investment banker piped in. I thought of a few female friends of mine who had confessed to me the occasional fantasy of being with 2 men. I decided to tell them it's best to leave it to a fantasy. Chloe was still skeptical. I've never had 2 men to try to do that, she said. Besides, men are so fucking competitive with each other, you'd think they wouldn't be able to deal with it. I wouldn't want to have sex with a woman after another man had been with her, said Peter. Tad disagreed. If it's my best friend, anything goes. Totally, Ian said. I could care less who goes first, or what happens, Tad said. It's a conspiracy between the 2 guys, said Ian. It's a one-on-one thing with your buddy. You're wondering what your buddy if you're going to be able to pull it off. And when you pull it off, you're like, yeah. Jim was shaking his head violently. I disagree. Jim, how can you say you disagree? Ian asked. Yeah, Tad said. You did it once with Ian. It's the idea of it I don't like, Jim said. Ian pointed at Jim, but he was pushing me up to the girl, Ian said. A bad vibe. Garrick spoke up. He said he had about 10 threesomes. Hey, I'm 35. A lot of shit has happened to me, and several were with another guy. It was always with my best friend, Bill, he said. Bill was a model, and Garrick and Bill met at a gym downtown when Bill asked Garrick to spot him on the bench press. Most of the guys who worked out there were gay, said Garrick. So after that, it was like we were going out of our way to prove we weren't gay. The 3-way was almost a validation of our heterosexuality. You're validating your masculinity to another guy. With me and Bill, it was about the thrill of the freak show, Garrick said. Sometimes both of us had intercourse with a girl at the same time. Once a woman submitted to that role of being with 2 guys, she's pretty much open to anything. Garrick leaned forward in his chair and took a drag of his cigarette. Bill once did it with another guy, he said. He laughed. I always kid him about it. There was interaction between them. I don't know. To me, that constitutes latent homosexuality yearnings. Do I have those yearnings? I don't know. Maybe Bill wasn't my type. The younger men got kind of quiet. Instead, Peter spoke. I'm not a homophobe. I did happen to be in a situation with my best friend once and another woman. They were sleeping in a queen-size bed in the same room, and I remember the vibes of sex. And when it was over, his hand was burned. Even though he was my best friend, I saw that he was an extra man on the scene. It was such a bad vibe. I just remember pushing his burned hand away. It was such a bad vibe. We all sat back for a moment. It was getting late. Almost time to go for dinner. I don't know, Garrick said. I'm convinced threesomes are good for your psyche emotionally. It's such a typical sexual experience. It's almost like it doesn't count. As soon as it's over, you don't think about it. If you cheat on your wife or girlfriend, you usually feel guilt afterwards. With this, there's no way you're going to have an ongoing relationship, so it's no threat. Besides, Garrett continued, it brings you closer to the guy. Cements the relationship. What else can you do that even comes close? You're sharing the most intimate experience. And what about afterwards? The next morning? Oh, no problem. I remember once, we all went to breakfast. Garrick said, I remember it, because I paid. Alright, you guys, and that is the end of Chapter 8. Very interesting chapter. What's going to happen in the next, you guys? So, get my radio ready. So, you guys stay tuned for the next chapter here on the Sex and the City series. Holla back! Stay tuned, you guys. Woo!